Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and even earn money. We like that. All in one place for totally free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your cellular telephone or your computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else, those other places that podcasts are heard.
Video podcasts are also available on Spotify, and when you want to take conversations with your fans to the next level, Q&As and polls are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free, zero catch. We've been using it ever since we started How Long Gone. And ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, I feel like having the option of turning off the Q&As and the polls on the user dashboard has really helped boost my creativity and take it to another level. I highly recommend giving it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started.
Big TJ, how you feeling today?
Not great, but a little bit better.
I feel like that your battle with your tum-tum is leading me to believe that you're a little more bitch-made than I once realized.
My systems are down. My immunity was not functioning very highly at all. So the shields were damaged, and it allowed bacterial penetration to come in.
Bacterial penetration is one of the worst kinds of penetration,
bro.
I would say, as far as that stuff goes.
Yeah, but I'm feeling much better than I was yesterday. We are recording this podcast a week early, just to let you guys know. That's why we might be talking about things that seem old.
Nothing seems old when it's through the How Long Gone lens.
In case you're wondering why, like, oh my God, is TJ still have FP?
It's called long FP. It's a new disease that you've founded where your stomach just feels bad for weeks because you eat too many greens that are unfortunately filled with disgusting bacteria.
Somebody at Chopped isn't washing their hands properly.
I need to watch those guys when they come out of the bathroom, because sometimes I see them wear the same rubber gloves to the toilet and back to the salad station. Yeah,
because I wash my hands before I pee, not after. I'm one of those kinds of guys because I respect the hog.
So you're saying that because you have so much respect for your hog, you wash your hands before using the restroom.
Absolutely, my hands are filthy compared to my precious penis.
That's actually it's interesting to think about, because I know I've never thought that before, and sometimes I wash my hands first too because they're soiled from dining, and I really hate.
You hate getting food all over your dick? I get it, brother, man. I get it. I hate it. Well, I mean, to me, like,
American
it's
Pie
very
voice.
Because, like, I always think about the word dirty, and, like, when you think about what dirt actually is, it's not really any, like, dirt is, it's soil, it's earth, so it's not really something that's actually.
Damn.
I'm not done yet.
TJ, I feel like your third eye is open.
I wasn't done talking yet.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, now I lost track, but it kind of makes you wonder why, what things, you really do think are putrid or gross. And, like, to me, getting a little bit of broccolini on my dick is not a problem, because that's something that's been washed and cleaned, and it's fine. But it's other things. It's like, you go to the gas station, you got to touch the fucking nozzle and stuff like that, and, like, that's the kind of stuff where I can't do anything until I wash my hands. Like, I can't even think until I wash my hands after I do something like that.
I get that. So you're just rubbing broccolini on the hog, but no unleaded.
That's right. And thank God, the Tesla, once that becomes more popular, unfortunately, you have to, if you go to a supercharger station, you still have to touch the nozzle. But it does have you feel like the clientele there are a little bit cleaner than than my bros over at Arco. You know what I'm saying?
So are you saying that Teslas are for rich people? I haven't heard that line of thinking before.
No. I wasn't saying that at all. Don't take my words out of context. I was saying that rich people are cleaner than poor people. Okay?
Oh, okay. Now we're back on track. Sorry, I was really confused for a second. Thank you for making that important clarification.
But yeah. Now I'm drinking a half mud, half La Croix spritzer right now. I haven't eaten food in 2 days other than saltine crackers. So,
hot.
Oh yeah, baby. I'm already below my goal weight.
I had a big night on the town last night in Hollywood, Jason.
Great. So while I was puking into a bucket and editing our podcast, you had a nice night on the town. Tell me about it, Chris.
Well, Jason is the face of this podcast. I have to be seen around town at local hotspots and other activations to make sure that How Long Gone stays relevant and part of the
You're not
discourse.
the face of this podcast. You're not the face. You don't even have any selfies on your Instagram, bitch. I posted a picture of us earlier today, and a listener was like, "Damn, that's what Chris looks like."
Damn, he is fine. I didn't realize. Damn, why did he hide in his pretty little face? But I met a friend of the show, Andrews, for a quick bite at an Aussie eatery.
I'm sorry.
Which obviously goes against my morals and other codes, but it's a real restaurant finally opened on Larchmont, which I feel like is extremely overdue and interesting that it took this long.
There's real restaurants over there. I guess it depends on what your definition of real is.
But you know what I mean. It's like the fact that it's a very high net worth neighborhood, and there's not a restaurant where you can get a $30 bowl of vegetables is crazy. I mean, that's fucking crazy.
Okay, so that's what
bro.
your definition of a real restaurant is. I understand now.
Yeah. So we went. It's called Great White, and there's one in the Cursed Venice neighborhood, I guess.
Oh, I'm familiar with this cursed restaurant.
But I gotta say, bro, it was pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
I have to admit, it was pretty good. The service was good. I mean, there were too many kids and too many dogs, but that's LA in general.
Sure. Okay. Well, yeah, I think I've been to the one in Venice once for like a meeting a long time ago.
Was it when you were doing your Them Jeans surf capsule, or was this a different meeting?
I was probably ideating something with Australian people. I don't know why I agreed to go there, but
let me get you a flat white, mate. You've never had one like this before.
The golden latte was on them. Hopefully.
Could I get a large? Do you have a 24-ounce golden latte?
The turmeric is heaps good for your immunity, I've read.
But the overall the meal was good. But then Andrews and I zipped down Sunset Boulevard to the famed Roxy Theater, Jason.
Been a while since I touched down in the Roxy.
They know me there from my kind of like, Riot Hyatt era. You know what I mean?
Did they have your normal table reserved for you?
They had my normal table reserved. They did thankfully have some chicken tenders waiting. They were cold, but it's fine. I didn't really go to eat. You know what I mean, Jason?
Luckily you had eaten before, otherwise it would have been an issue.
It would have been a problem. But we went to go see fellow elite podcasters, Lara and Carrie, Sexy Unique Podcast had a live show last night. So I thought it'd be good to go kind of scope out the competition, take some notes, see what's up, see what's down.
See how live podcasting is going down in WeHo.
Exactly. And it was, honestly, I laughed.
Good. I hope so. I mean, those guys are very funny. We've had both of them on the show.
They were very funny, and it was good to see. It was good to be in that environment. And they brought out a special guest from Vanderpump Rules, who looked like she had been, kind of inflated. I would say almost like a balloon.
Are you just speaking purely on weight gain?
Well, I'm speaking on. I think what happens with a lot of these.
You're talking about ego. I'm talking about the id.
No, I think that a lot of these like reality people, they get started pretty young, so they're still hot like most of us.
Okay,
and then they get a little money and they get some weird fillers and plastic surgery, and they continue to drink at a clip that you cannot drink at 20. When you're 35, you can't drink like you're 22.
Chris, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you look great, thank God, because you've been throwing up for the last 2 days. But, before that, your fillers have not even settled yet.
Oh, okay, so interesting. I see what you're saying.
But it was very funny. And then during the show, Andrews and I are laughing at something. And then he shows me his phone, and Nicole Ritchie's hair is on fire.
Yes.
So it was a big night just all around for not only the Madden Ritchie family, but also for me and Andrews.
Fellow Virgo, Nicole Ritchie, those beautiful locks went up as she was blowing out the candles of her 40th birthday cake. Doesn't that make you feel old that Nicole Ritchie's 40?
Well, no, she's the same age as us, and she looks hot, so I like it.
I know.
Nicole Ritchie, never forget, Nicole Ritchie drove her Range Rover the wrong way on the highway when she was gone off the perks. That's legendary shit.
On the 2 freeway in Glendale.
That's right. That's right. I think we've talked about this before, but that's Hall of Fame hang your jersey behavior.
No, she was kind of the original Khloe Kardashian for me in terms of me always wanting to pick kind of the odd man out in terms of the hoe selection.
So you're saying if there's no Asians available, you'll pick the odd man out.
You get it. But when the Simple Life was going and Paris and Nicole were in full swing, you know, everyone was kind of like, oh, Paris Hilton's so hot, and Nicole's kind of like the frumpy dumpier one. Even though she wasn't frumpy or dumpy, but, you know, she kind of had a little bit more of a glazed over look in her eyes, and you know, she kind of had her little party pouch popping off, you know what I mean? And I always just had a weird little creepy crush on Nicole Ritchie, so it's good to see her getting her life straight on in order and getting her ducks in a row. And I'm luckily narrowly escaping her whole head getting on fire, because that looked like a kind of a serious accident.
Well, luckily I think because she's so small, she could slide out of the sunroof and it was no problem. And that, you know, that luckily being, you know, pocket sized pays off when you get into an accident.
That's right. But yeah, I mean, I've seen, you know, restaurant and bar related fires like that happen, and I've seen them go south for sure.
I'm worried about her. We'll call her later and check in.
I'm sure she wouldn't have posted that video if she, you know, was in the burn ward.
I don't know. She's funny.
That's what I love about her.
She's down to clown. She's D2C. She'll come on the show.
Who's she partnered up with? She's still
the Madden brother,
she's still
bro.
With Madden,
yeah.
Right? She's
they
still
got
with
kids. The Madden brothers are the most successful pop punk graduate, bro. They got Cameron Diaz and Nicole Ritchie holding them down in Studio City. That's a win.
I have no idea how they pulled that off. Still keeps me up at night.
Money, bro. They're rich. And those made shoes that you have in a size 17 lead me to believe that you do know the difference in how
those chicks don't need money though. Those chicks don't need money.
Yeah, but chicks that have money want dudes with money.
Sure.
You know?
There's a lot. Those aren't the only guys with money. I'm saying there's something else going on there.
Yeah, you don't have any money. I agree. I agree. We do have a guest today. Old friend of mine, and an Atlanta, Georgia graduate. He was the restaurant critic at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He has written a new book called Springer Mountain: Meditations on Killing and Eating, where he kind of takes an investigative look at why we eat meat. And it is a wild ride. And there's a couple great essays in here. He goes to Alaska to kill some whales. He uncovers a fake organic farm in Atlanta. He lives with the chickens, you know, which is something that I feel like you should do, Jason.
He's coming live from the slaughterhouse, and I'm ready.
No Joe Budden, not Slaughterhouse, the rap group, right?
No. And no. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to be hunting and trapping some wild game, some bush meat. Today's episode will consist of a lot of bushmeat talk. Our listeners at home have been asking for this, and we're going to deliver it to them. So let's give Wyatt Williams a zoomie.
What up, dudes?
How are you, bro?
You know, I was just reading about you guys in the New York Times.
That's cool that they found us. We feel like we're pretty, like, we're beasting in the underground, so it's kind of cool when, like, a newspaper.
How did you like the article, Wyatt?
Well, you know, you guys.
I know that it was not about you and more about Chris and I, but, you know, just as...
Yeah, are you saying that you would have done things differently? Because that's not really what we're trying to hear.
You know, dude, no, it's a fucking beautiful article, and you guys look beautiful, and you got the integrity t-shirt in there. So, I mean, I feel like you scored a win there in the Times.
Yeah, that's Jason's biggest accomplishment. First and last time integrity will ever be mentioned in the New York Times, both in the political section and in the styles section.
Yeah, hopefully I can get a follow back from Dwid from that, but we'll see what happens.
I got my fingers crossed for you. I wonder, dude, definitely.
Thank you.
I hope Dwid's social media manager listens to this and kind of
his whole team
is able to push follow. Yeah, Dwid's whole team, exactly. Wyatt, where are you at right now? Are you in Iowa?
Yeah, dude, I'm in Iowa. And you know, I just rented a house here, and my car broke down yesterday, and I'm supposed to leave for the airport like on Friday. And like a fire alarm went off in my basement just now, and I was so stressed I didn't even realize that the alarm was going off. So like that's the vibe. here. Just like slight stress.
Great vibe. So just to inform people, you live in Iowa by choice. This is not.
I think he might be taking like a writing class or something like that, Chris. I don't know if it's a permanent residence.
Oh, I thought you were in jail, but I guess if you chose it yourself. So what's going on in the cornfields over there?
You want the short story of how I ended up here, or like the long story? Because the long story is kind of fun.
Let's go medium, Wyatt.
Medium.
Go medium.
Let's see. A couple years ago, like into 2019, I was living in like a place that like people actually choose to live, like in Bali, and honestly, man, having like a terrible time. It doesn't make any sense, but clearly,
Is it because you weren't very good at surfing?
Yeah, dude. I'm a terrible surfer. Completely. I'm kind of blind. So like when I take my glasses off, like it's no good in the water. Like it's just not happening.
Too many Australians over there in Bali as well, huh?
You know, I got a lot of Australians that I love in my life and a lot of respect to them. But I got to say the Australians that show up in Bali are maybe not doing the best, global PR for the other Australians. It's a weird vibe. It can be a weird vibe there.
But it's a good place to do drugs if you are Australian.
Killer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Killer place to do some drugs. It's tough to get them.
So you're in Bali. You're not very good at surfing. I'm sure the restaurant scene is lacking, to say the least. No, I mean, look, I love avocados as much as the next guy, but I don't know what the season is like over there. How are the avocados?
Avocados are not good. The fruit is extraordinary, man. I gotta say, like Southeast Asia is absolutely killing the fruit game. Mangoes all the time, papaya. They have these really large sort of grapefruit, like extra large grapefruit type fruits called pomelo. And man, if you can get pomelo, I feel like the Japanese pay like $50 a fruit for these things, but they're just like falling off the trees in Bali, man. Pomelo is the best thing in the world.
I'm a fan of them as well.
Where can you get that, Jason? In Glendale? I don't believe it. So where have you
can see them at the farmers market every once in a while. They're not super rare in LA actually.
Don't make me go to the farmers market. You know how I feel about that.
You can go to Bezos Farms. Certain locations of Bezos Farms will have.
If I can hit Bezos Farms and they'll have it, that's a little more my speed. Were you picking these fruits yourself, like shirtless, chopping them up, or was the vibe a little more buttoned up for you?
No, dude, definitely. I was shirtless the whole time I was in Bali, just picking fruit for sure. I had like a machete that I would open coconuts with.
Oh yeah.
And
damn.
And then every once in a while, like spend an afternoon on a motorcycle. That's pretty much what I was doing.
What kind of were you taking, like solo motorcycle trips into the deep wilderness?
I was on some eat, pray, love shit, man. Yeah, I was.
Explain what that means to you, please, Wyatt.
Well, I'd been like a restaurant critic in Atlanta for like a number of years, right? And I'd completely burned out. I like hated my job. I was not happy. I was like, and I had this like book that I hadn't finished. And I was like, so I had some friends that had moved to Bali, me and my partner, mutual friends. And they were like, just come over to Bali for a few months. Our neighbor's house just opened up. You can like sublet it. You'll hang out, you'll finish your book, everything will be like fine and easy. And like all of that was like a lie, like couldn't finish the book, like was like completely lost without my job. It was just like really fucking floundering, man. And like, I'd like finally like started talking to a therapist for the first time in my life. Man, just telling him like all the troubles, they add up, right? When you get in your late 30s and you haven't done any of the work and you're just like, oh, like I can't
that's right.
cure this with like a 50 bag and a couple more drinks or whatever, right? Like I need to like actually, do some work on myself. And he was like, you know what, dude, you can't keep writing this book anymore. It's driving you crazy. Like you have to like just stop. And I was like, okay, like maybe you're right. Like I've been down this path for, a long time. And so anyway, like I'm doing that thing and I'm like, so what do I do? Like I just throw away this thing that I've spent like years of my life on. What do you do? Like if you're a writer and you don't know what to do next? I was just like, I don't know, go to fucking Iowa. And so I live this nonfiction writing program.
Let's not downplay the Irish Writers Workshop, which is given.
I told you, Chris. I told you he was there for a reason.
It's crazy because it's weird because Jason's not a strong reader, so I don't really know how he knew about.
I learned
this,
about it from an episode of the TV show Girls featuring Lena Dunham.
Okay, friend of the show, Lena Dunham told you about it. That makes a little more sense.
Yeah, check it out. It's on HBO.
This is a prestigious program that has given us many classic novels. Let's not downplay it like you're at the community college.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, totally. So I wrote this letter, which is sort of felt like throwing a football into the ocean. You know what I mean? Like, sure, let's see how this turns out or whatever. And then strangely, they wrote back in March of 2020, like, hey, we want to give you this fellowship. Come, study here, learn how to be a better writer. I mean, the letter I wrote them was basically, I've been writing about food for the past decade. I hate every single word that I've ever written. I think I'm a shit writer. I'm embarrassed. Please show me a different way of doing what I've been doing, because clearly it's not working, right?
So you were a sub looking for a dom, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. So you asked the Iowa Writers Workshop to step on your balls with their Manolos, and they agreed.
So it was amazing, right? Like they wrote back, and again, this is March 2020. They're like, we want to give you this fellowship. That's great. That'll give you a bunch of time to write. All this stuff. Where you're like, oh man, this is killer. But also at the same time, I'm like, okay, what's going on in the world? This is when people are just starting to get sick, right? Mm-hmm. So my friends that had convinced us to move to Bali, they're like, oh, let's just get everybody in a big huddle. Let's come over to the house and we'll sort this thing out, right? And so it's a dozen of us expats sitting around going okay, so they're saying we need to quarantine, so maybe we could all move into Sarah and Ken's house. It's a big house, and I could be in charge of cooking, somebody would be in charge of getting the water, somebody in charge of the diesel or something like that. We'll ride it out for 6-8 weeks, whatever this thing is. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, oh, let's talk to this doctor, he's a friend of ours.
Never talk to the doctors. Never talk to them. That's the word. The biggest mistake we ever made is asking Dr. Fauci what he thought. Look where we're at now. Now we're in a court. We had a pandemic. Everybody's had to get these shots or whatever. It's crazy. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, but I mean, seriously, right? It was this huge mistake where we get him on the speakerphone and he's explaining how quarantine works and how set up the island is for handling something like this. And basically it comes down to I think there's about 8 beds that could meet the qualifications to treat something like this difficult, on the island. Jesus. And there's 4 million people here.
Not looking great.
But you guys do get a lot of vitamin D over there, so that should be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of faith healers. There's also people who and I'm not joking, at this meeting with my friends, somebody's well, we can make antibiotics out of roots and stuff, and then another person's oh no, we could build ventilator tanks out of scuba tanks. I'm sure of it. We just reverse engineer this thing. And I'm sitting here going what kind of fucking dumb science fiction movie am I in?
This has a Pauly Shore biodome energy to it so far.
I think Pauly Shore would probably play me in the movie. Mm-hmm. Maybe Brendan Fraser. I don't know. I'd like Brendan Fraser personally.
He's hotter.
But yeah, definitely. So anyway, at a certain point, we were oh, fuck it. We got to go. The day we get to the airport is the day that Singapore says, you can't even have a flight, a layover land there. We're not even accepting that. They tell their gate agents to stand up and walk away out of the airport. The airport's filled with hundreds of people with their bags, just where do I go? I have a ticket, but my plane's not leaving now.
It's Jason in Vegas after the Life is Beautiful festival when he can't kind of figure out how to get back to LA. I get the picture.
Right. And we just happened to be connecting through Qatar, and Qatar had decided if you have a passport from the Eastern Hemisphere, you can't get on the plane, and you have a passport from the Western Hemisphere, you can get on the plane.
It's easy though. I like how clear cut that is. That's kind of nice.
It's a weird decision, man. So
makes a lot of sense.
So basically we got back to the States, and my thought is well, the one thing you need in the world is some kind of stability like this, and these people, nice people in Iowa are giving you a lifeline right now. Mm-hmm. And, the other thing that happens is I was just absolutely lying to my therapist through this whole thing. and being like, nah, like I'm not working on that book anymore. That's bad for my head. Definitely not doing that. And the way that I had gone through that lie was I told myself I was going to write this magazine article about this book that didn't work out that I tried to write.
You thought you were going to scam. You thought you were going to scam your therapist by saying it was a magazine article about the book. You think you're slick? You think you're slick, Chief?
I mean, do you guys come up with ways to lie to yourself like this? I do this all the time, apparently.
Yeah, it seems like a great little Band-Aid, and I like it.
I've heard worse.
Like, I don't need to write the whole book. Like that's a fool's errand. I will write a great magazine piece about the problems of writing a book, and then people are going to say, "You're so brave for doing this."
Yeah, man. And so, but then the pandemic hit, and so like I spent the next like 6 months of my life basically like sitting in a bathtub being like, what the fuck am I doing? And finally finished the book that I've been trying to write for the past 10 years. And now I live in Iowa. So
yeah, now so it was all worth it. I mean, look, you didn't get COVID, you ate some good fruit, and now you live in the middle of nowhere. It sounds like it worked out really well to me.
He may have gotten COVID. We don't know that for sure, Chris.
Well, you know, actually, we had a member of the household got COVID, and I don't think I ever got it, but I started doing a lot of mushroom foraging during the pandemic, and I got some sort of terrible like poison ivy staph infection rash around the same time. So that was my great medical trial.
Where were you foraging?
The woods in Mississippi.
Did you find any good shit?
Oh, dude. Chanterelles in Mississippi, absolutely killer, unbelievable, and no competition at all, man. Like you could be like stock a like Italian restaurant with chanterelles for months with what you can get out of the woods.
I had no idea they had those in Mississippi. Also Mississippi Chanterelle sounds like a band that's opening for Lenny Kravitz.
All right, I mean, I would be there. I would go to basically anything right now.
I love a chanterelle.
I mean, who doesn't? But what were you doing with the? I mean, it sounds like you had a load of these things. What were you doing?
So, you know, it was this weird thing. My buddy Tate, at the beginning of the pandemic, he's been living out there like for a while now, and he just told like a bunch of us like, get out here and like let's have like this pandemic pod. Again, it was like kind of the thing that we thought it was going to be like 8 weeks, 12 weeks max or something like that. And we ended up just having like a dozen of us, making dinner for one another, big dinner parties out in the middle of the woods for months.
This sounds pretty idyllic, Jason. What do you think? Don't you wish you would have spent your pandemic with Wyatt and his mushrooms instead of me and a microphone?
Yeah, I think you should have hired a Netflix camera crew to cover this because this sounds like some great content, my friend.
Let me tell you this. This is the thing that I found out about it. For like so much of my lifetime, I've been thinking like, man, if I wasn't so busy or if I was around my close friends more, what I'd really want to have is like more dinner parties, right? Isn't that like the grown-up thing where you're like, oh, we could all just hang out around the house, we can make food, we can really enjoy each other, not be rushed.
It's the number one social activity for people who are 35 and up, I would say.
You washed boring losers. I go to restaurants like a fun person.
Well, you get...
they have music.
I can put rye on Sonos at my house, but you get to enjoy all the things of partying, excessive drinking, you're serving yourself however much you want to drink. You can do shots, you can do whatever you want. You can have hearty conversation, and the best part about it all, you're sitting down the whole time.
Exactly. All of it's killer, right? The thing that I found out after dinner party 30 with the same dozen very culturally interesting, fascinating people that you've had dinner parties with the past 2 months, you were fucking tired of it, man. No one has anything to say to anyone. And, it just got to the point where we're like, yeah, sure, we'll fucking make, 15 pounds of meatballs and fresh spaghetti again tonight. Yeah, that's fucking fine. Yeah, great. Oh, you got a case of Chianti? Fantastic. Well, whatever,
Chanterelle problems, as they say.
But were you the most skilled chef in this group, or was there somebody coming for the crown of head chef, and you were more of a sous vibe?
Oh wow, that's good, Chris.
I don't want to say that I was.
The answer is yes when he says that.
The answer is yes. I mean, Wyatt, you've dedicated your life to the culinary arts.
Yeah, but also if he's dedicated his life to the culinary arts, then he's probably rubbing elbows with like-minded folks who might actually be, a professional chef who, especially, I love cooking. I've been doing it for a long time, but I love cooking for a 2-top, not a 12-top every night. You know what I mean?
You know, I'm really like, I'm worried about Tate hearing this and him thinking like, wait a second, you actually.
Tate doesn't listen to this. Tate's too rich to listen to this podcast. Don't worry about that. I think that if you put him on the salad station, and that's fine.
Salad station.
No, we traded off. He was chef one night, I'd be sous chef. I would be chef one night, he would be sous. It was a good dynamic.
You're sweet for doing that. You're sweet for doing that.
That's really nice. I didn't know this. I didn't know that this COVID pod was also like a Make-A-Wish Foundation situation, but that's really.
You gotta throw the amateurs a bone every once in a while in the kitchen. That's something I learned with my age.
It's like when Jason lets me, take something out of the oven and tells me that I cooked. It's like a similar. It feels like charity, but everybody
so
wins.
Good.
Kind of,
you didn't
so
even burn yourself at all, did you, Chris?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
That's my little chef.
Yeah. Exactly. It's nice, but that sounds like something that would be fun for a little while. And I don't know. The labor of cooking is something that I don't understand how you guys get past that, because as a dish doer, neither option looks good for me. The only option that looks good is putting down that American Express at a fine dining establishment. I just don't. The amount of work that goes into it, are you getting pleasure out of this in a sick way, or are you looking at it as more of like a painting? Like this is your art?
What do you think about it, Jason? How do you feel about it? I'm curious.
I think that you're so excited to impress those around you, or one up yourself from the last time, or correct a mistake that you made the last time you were cooking a dinner party, try out a new recipe or a new method or a new technique you've been trying to learn. That the high of that outweighs the dread of the laborious chopping and the dish doing, and then when you're done, then it finally kind of all sinks in, and then you're like, oh right, this fucking sucks. I have to do dishes for a dinner of 12 every fucking night. I mean, that could be a bummer.
I just don't.
But yeah, I mean, if you really love cooking and the art of it, and you have a severe need to get adoration from other people, then. That flame never goes out. You always want to make the best meal you can and have a bunch of people who you respect congratulate you for doing a job well done. You
know what, man? I'm 100% on board with you, because the thing that I've noticed when I cook for myself, my skills go like down like 75% immediately. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, oh, you're just cooking for yourself. Who fucking cares? I don't know, man. It's fine.
You talk to your therapist about that?
I probably should. We'll add it to the list. But yeah, no, like the thing that you really get to me with food is like, yeah, being able to like share it or like make it for somebody, impress them. I don't know, for whatever reason, like that's such a motivator to me.
I like to impress people by paying for the meal.
Yeah.
If it's under a certain amount of money, of course. Like if
that's why Chris and I get along so well. There's in the food world, there's two kinds of we'll call them panty droppers. There's dropping the Amex, and then there's like the chef movie where I'm making you a fresh pasta at 2 a.m. after a long hard day, and then you're like, oh wow, you're bae.
I think it's more like when I wake up at your house, I'm a little hungover, and you're just in the kitchen, in your Ethica boxer briefs, making me a nice French style omelet as the sun rises.
You're wearing one of my J. Crew Oxfords as you wipe the sleep out of your eyes.
Exactly. Yeah. I think what are the three, because this is something that we've discussed before, but there's certain dishes that if someone can make well, it's kind of they can really cook. So one's an omelet. For me, with a pizza restaurant, it's obviously the classic margarita. Mm-hmm. But is like a roast chicken fall into that category? Are there things I'm missing to be looking for in some up and coming chefs?
Yeah, man, listen, if somebody can deliver a roast chicken that actually, like impresses and distinguishes itself from other roast chickens. I spent years on this, man. I really went down the rabbit hole of like, what are the incremental improvements one can make to like a roast chicken that actually pays off. Mm-hmm. That's like, it's like, I mean, it's similar to the omelet thing, right? Where it's all about technique. It's all about like doing the things ahead of time that makes it, better food.
What's your chicken game like?
Well, the whole game with chicken is that there's too much water in it. And I'm serious. I'm totally serious.
I've been saying this for
years.
The
whole game with chicken, right? Hey, stay with me. The whole thing with chicken, right? Too much water.
You know what doesn't have a whole lot of flavor, Chris? H2O.
Damn, when you think about it that way. But don't you have to stuff...
You know what does have flavor? The blood and flesh of chickens.
Don't you have to stuff a bunch of shit inside of them, though?
No.
Nah. It's a crutch.
Oh, so that's pussy shit. So if you put vegetables inside your chicken, you're a bitch. Like, that ain't real cooking.
Yeah, stuffing the bird is a little antiquated.
I agree. I mean, I think so. The whole game to me with chicken is aging it, man, drying it out. If you can hang that thing and get some air circulating around it, and then give it like a couple days to like sort of break down outside of like any kind of covering, you're getting like a way better chicken than if you just take it out.
Yeah, you salt that
sure.
bitch 2-3 days in the fridge, uncovered. Hang it if you can. I can't hang it in the Sub-Zero. There's no hooks. It's tough. And then, but I'll get a little wire rack under there. Let it, and it really, you can just see the salt, on the skin. You can see the skin kind of tighten it up. All that water leaving.
This sounds like you're describing yourself in the Equinox sauna, and it's turning me off. It's not making my tummy rumble. I'll say that.
No. That's a wet brine. I'm talking about a dry brine, Chris.
Oh, I see. I see. I mean, I do feel like there's something so appealing about a roast chicken to me as a guy who doesn't eat meat, but it's just it's so Nancy Myers and like chic to me. I don't know. It seems like the perfect meal.
I agree with that. There was remember the episode where I was at the lake house in the cabin and it was super freezing, Chris?
Yes.
I was dying of frostbite. I remember that day I had made a roast chicken and it really kind of brought us back to life. And I remember it was so cold. For the backstory, why we were staying at a lake house cabin and the heater had gone out. And it was like really, really, really cold. And it was actually more cold outside of the refrigerator than inside. And I did a dry brine of it just sitting out on the counter for 2 days.
Yes.
And then roasted it and then put some like pieces of bread underneath it. They soaked up all the chicken and made some really good chicken toast,
Yeah.
But it was like one of those things where I was like so bored and I was like I had nothing else to do and I could just devote the whole day to making this perfect meal. And it really was just like, some potatoes and some bread and a chicken with salt on it, nothing else. That could have been the best meal of my life.
What is it, transcendent? Is that what you're saying? The bite was transcendent?
I would argue it could be beyond transcendent.
Oh, I don't even have the words for that. I don't even know what that means. I didn't know chicken could be, all we hear about these days is hot chicken. You know what I mean? Lame shit. I think we're forgetting the roast.
It's another crush.
I think we're forgetting.
Yeah. You got me in the mood to pick up a nice Mary's air-chilled organic bird, or maybe even a Springer Mountain chicken, something good. And,
the good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even bring up chicken because you're the foremost expert on the birds, Wyatt. But it does. I mean, you've killed a chicken with your bare hands. Is that correct?
Yeah, too many, man. Yeah.
Did you feel power or guilt or a mixture of both?
Yeah, definitely the mixture of both. I mean, like it depends on how many times you do it. You get a little worn out over it. At a certain time, the first time you do something like that, you're like probably like pretty terrified of the situation. I had people who sort of taught me like what they thought the best practices were. Like I spent time in bad places too.
Because basically you're saying there's like an ethical way to do this, and there's people that do it differently.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a possibility that if you did it yourself, you sat down with it, Chris, you could come to terms with it and you could say like, oh, okay, like I get this. I feel comfortable with it.
That's interesting because I don't have any ethical or morals when it comes to most things, especially not meat. But I do think that it's just that would be like a big bridge to cross. Like I can't imagine doing that. But you're saying if I spent enough time with it and kind of understood the process and listened to the right people, that it would be something I could even do.
Well, I do want to be clear here. I'm not somebody who's saying someone should think this way or someone should think another way.
Sure.
This is a big part of what's happened with meat is that, the big companies decided the best thing to do is hide this from people. Make sure they don't see anything, because when people see this stuff, they don't want to have anything to do with it. And so we're going to hide it. And so the only time like we encounter, like a slaughterhouse or something like that is usually like a video where something like has gone terribly wrong, right? Where like the worst kind of things are coming together in this bad moment. But what I'm saying is like, if you do have like the interest in looking this stuff directly in the eye, rather than like avoiding what might be good or might be bad about it, I think there's something that like you really learn about yourself from slaughtering a chicken or shooting a deer or something like this. whether it's worth your time to do something like that, or whether like you would want to do something like that, that's up to you. But I think, it's something that we've been doing for as long as we've been a species, and I think we like get in touch with part of who we are by learning like how we do that.
Jason, do you think you could do it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I've done it with a duck before, but no, I haven't done like the head. I don't think I've done just like knife to the neck murder. I've definitely like killed fish and stuff that way, but fish are, why are fish different somehow to us, Wyatt?
Why are fish different? That's a good question.
They can't scream?
Well, yeah, we have different communications for sure. Like I'll say this, as far as the animals go, we've got it down with cows where like 99% of the time a cow doesn't know it's going to die. Mm-hmm. I would say with trout, man, I got to say, like, you go to a good trout farm and all they're doing is taking the trout out of a pond and putting it into an ice bath. And that's it. Like there's not a lot of drama there. Mm-hmm. Chickens, on the other hand, man, chickens know they're going to fucking die.
Yeah.
Every single time they get anywhere near it, they have like this extra sensory thing and they get scared, and like that, no one's figured out the way around that. Chickens are very like aware that they're going to die.
Is that a thing that people are actively trying to figure out a solution for? Or it's like, if we can get it, then great. If not, then whatever.
I think the general idea with all of this stuff is you want to make it go as quickly and painlessly as possible, right? And I think there are people, there's one version of your big industrial farming where they're creating up chickens, they're putting them on the back of a semi truck and then driving them hours down the freeway, and then backing that into like a gigantic slaughterhouse that's, pumping 200,000 chickens a day.
Sure.
And this is a long and exhausting and like really stressful process, which is really different than I would say like, a small farmer who has like a slaughter exemption, who can crate up the chickens in the field, bring them over to a shed, and then it's done in a few minutes, right?
What do you think about the kind of the theories behind that stress being inside the animal when it's killed affecting the flavor or the quality of the meat?
100%, man. There's really? No question in my mind that's real. Absolutely. Yeah. You have, it's a hormonal reaction that happens in animals where you have, a cow that's, been trucked for forever to get to the slaughterhouse. They're building up stuff within their muscles that whole time. You have a relaxed animal that, has been walked in from a pasture to the side of the place that they're getting into, the slaughterhouse. Completely different. You see it with game animals too. It's one of the reasons that like game tends to have like a flavor that some people don't like, is that oftentimes in that process, like, a buck will be stressed out or fighting, for its life for a while near the end of that process. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's 100% real.
Are you familiar with the ikejime for the fish as well?
Fill me in on that one, Jason. I'm not quite sure if I heard you correctly.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. It sounds like a word you made up.
It's a practice they do in Japan, a way of killing fish by basically putting it like a thin steel wire, kind of like a coat hanger type of thing, straight into the main nerve on the spinal cord to kind of kill them instantly, similar to the way, like the bolt in the head for the cow, where it's like an instantaneous death. Like the way that you kind of put this wire down into the head of the fish and you kind of jam it around, and it sort of disables all of the nervous system, so it doesn't allow, kind of that fear and blood and, those energy pulses to get into the muscle meat.
It sounds like a good system.
It does.
I feel like, the bolt is a really having been in a slaughterhouse where we use the bolt, I think it's a good system. Yeah. To me, what the thing that kills me, man? No pun intended, I hope. So here's the thing. Like, I feel like when we talk about like animal welfare, we talk about, that kind of thing, people often like they have some memory of like a clip they saw on YouTube or on the news of like some guy like kicking an animal or something like that, or like something going really wrong in a slaughterhouse. But like, there isn't a person that I've ever met that worked in a slaughterhouse that didn't want to make that process be as quick and as simple and straightforward as it possibly could, right? Like, that's to no one's benefit to like drag that out, to make that harder for the animal. The reason that stuff happens, man, is because companies hire these people, pay them, like awful wages, give them no breaks, and then make them participate at a speed that's way too fast, right? I mean, the deal is that it's straight up like abuse of the people that are working in the slaughterhouses. And this is one of the things that just kills me, man. Like, I think people who are like concerned about animal welfare, the number one thing they should be concerned about is the labor rights of people who work in slaughterhouses. To me, like, that's a direct one-to-one line. You take care of those people.
That's like where that's where the issue
100%.
starts.
So, I mean, that's not really, what I'm trying to like, this isn't like a polemical book or whatever, but you come across this stuff when you're working and you go like, man, like people's understanding of that situation versus what's actually happening in those situations are just huge. There's a huge gulf.
I mean, do you think that meat consumption will actually not go away, but truly decrease in our lifetime? Like there's that movement happening now. And as a person who's been, vegetarian or vegan or pescatarian or whatever for 20, 25 years, it seems like this is the biggest it's ever been. That like swell and that discussion, and like, it's bad for the environment. It's bad. It's not just about like, animals anymore. They've made it a bigger story. And do you think that's actually realistic, or do you think that people don't really give a fuck?
There's a lot of things here. I think people have made some compelling arguments. I think, when you talk about the climate, there's a real compelling argument there. I think part of the question that people haven't fully thought through there is that if we were to replace, let's say, all of the calories that we get from animal protein across the world, and then we were
we're talking. So you're saying if I don't get these animal proteins, my titty's going to be sagging? Is that what you're saying?
No, not saying that at all. I'm saying from an agricultural perspective, the amount that you would have to change of shifting into row crop production to do all of the things that you're replacing those calories with would create another but different set of agricultural calamities.
I see. So it's the dominoes start falling, and we got all kinds of fucking problems. Like we're at square one.
Listen, this is part of the deal. Is just feeding, several billion people on the planet is going to be challenging and probably disastrous, no matter which way you cut it.
Yeah, that's why we have this man-made pandemic. Handle that overpopulation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was compelled for a minute by the idea of the lab-grown meat. The way that one person presented it to me was meat without slaughter, right? That's the same thing, but you don't have the slaughter process. Mm-hmm. The slow rollout of that technology, I'm just saying, if there's anybody who works at a company like that who wants to show me that it works and that it doesn't require as much or more energy input to create that, mm-hmm. I'm all ears. I'd love to see that. I haven't seen that yet. And so, I mean, the part of the deal with this whole question, man, is that we're always looking at like farms being like this huge problem, right? And like, sure, like, I mean, that's maybe part of the deal. Like, we have created all of these problems on our planet through agriculture. But like, there's no solution that I've seen where we're going to get rid of farms. Like, you're going to replace one farm that has X problem with maybe another farm which has a different problem.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a naysayer. I think there's a lot of people who like, they see like some real promise. And I'm not like a solutions guy. I'm somebody who's like,
I like that. Look, I'm not a solutions guy, Chris. Don't ask me more questions on this podcast. Well, I hope to be dead before any of this stuff is really a problem. That's kind of where my head's at. You know what I mean? Like, as long as I'm dead before it's really a problem, it's tough for me to be that concerned at this stage.
I think that's what kind of every generation thinks about their previous, the future generation, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. But maybe technology will save us. Who knows?
It saved me so far. I would like to ask you, Wyatt, as well. So Jason, my co-host, he's kind of moved into this real like post-restaurant, I hate every restaurant phase of his life, and it's pretty annoying for me, but it's great for the show. So like anywhere we go, he like shits on it. And it's annoying in the moment, but then when we're able to talk about it on the pod, everything is content, so I basically have no choice. So I'm wondering, as a former restaurant critic and obviously amateur chef, can you go to a restaurant and enjoy it, or are you a fucking hater like Jason?
Man, it's been weird. I haven't gone out to a restaurant in a while.
I guess the culinary scene in Iowa is not probably the best.
Which Panera has the most chef-driven one?
I'll say this. I do think, the glamour, the thing that like I fell in love with 10 years ago in Atlanta, where I was first writing about restaurants and like all of that was new and really interesting to me. Whatever that period of time has changed to a great deal to me. Like I don't get the same kick out of it. I don't know if I really ever want to live a lifestyle where I spend that much time in restaurants again. But I'm kind of curious, like when this shit, like what is the next era of restaurants? I don't know. Jason, do you have thoughts on this? Like is there like a
ghost kitchens? I've read about them a lot. It seems cool.
Yeah.
It seems pretty cool. And I've had some sushi from one of them and it wasn't bad, and I think Wiz Khalifa has some as well, which is also promising because guys that smoke that much weed, they know about food. They kind of know about food. But
Chris, you have a lot of good points on this.
I hope the future of restaurants is never hearing rap music at dinner again and better bread service. Now that I'm having carbs again, I want a really curated bread basket.
Shit, Chris. You're back on bread?
Well, not full time, but I stopped eating dessert, so I need the carbohydrates for energy, for lifting.
Well, fuck yeah, man.
So but Jason, please give us your thoughts on the future of restaurants. I can't wait to hear what you've come up with. You can't just say sweet green. That's not the future of restaurants.
I think that we're going to move towards a place where there's consistency more than innovation, like places like
thank God
corporate steakhouses and cheesecake factories and places like that where the food is not awful, but it's not nothing new is happening, but you're always going to get something that's good enough, and the service is always going to be good. I think those places are going to kind of thrive and take off more because people are just going to get, or maybe not people, but just myself personally. It's too much of a gamble to go to a new fly-by-night restaurant where there's so many things that can go wrong and it costs so much money where you're just like, well, that was a disappointment. I could have just gone to Cheesecake Factory.
So you're saying we're going to be hitting Houston's 3 nights a week.
Yeah, I think Houston's will have, continue to thrive, and places like that where
thank God.
Where the now that we're going to be cooking more at home with our designer cookware, and we're going to be ordering our Uber Eats, and we're going to do our meal kits and all these things. When we go out to eat, it has to be a real experience, and then the service itself has to be a huge part of that. And right now, that's the biggest issue. Nobody can hire quality servers or even bad quality servers right now because of the quarantine. Nobody wants to work anymore in that industry. The way they can't pay people enough to do it anymore. So that's kind of like, I think that's going to be the battleground of what the future of restaurants are, because those places like Houston's or Cheesecake or whatever, like despite their faults, you're always going to get good service there. You're always going to get a team of people where they put that as a priority.
Yeah.
And if that gets taken away, then there's going to truly be no reason to go out to restaurants anymore.
I'm all for a future that involves eating at Houston 3 times a week. That's just to be clear.
Amen.
And man, I miss that spinach dip so much since I moved away from Atlanta. I haven't had it, man. God, I love that place. To me, like I'm going back to Atlanta this weekend, right? And like the number one thing that I'm thinking about going back to restaurants is like, who can I see?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the people, like is Jesse going to be behind the bar at Kimball House?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd like to see Jesse. I'd like to see Brian, or like, is Alan going to be at 8 Arm? And to me, like that's what makes sense, to what you're saying. Like, I think the thing about restaurants just has to be people in the end, man. It has to be, the people have to want to be in that place, and they have to be in a situation where they can take care of you directly as well. Like kind of everything else is noise. Like that's what restaurants should be about.
You make a great point. And that's why I will continue to go to places like the wonderful Tower Bar at the Sunset Tower, where I can enjoy a $65 piece of fish with some spinach and the server is hot and everything makes sense. There's a jazz band playing.
Yeah.
You got, this, I'm just glad though. And I make fun of Jason for this all the time, but I do think the era of like the stupid like novelty pop-up that's in a faraway place is over.
Yeah.
I think that is finally done, which is along with like the speakeasy trend, I'm happy to see buried, 6 feet underground.
Mm-hmm. I think young people are still okay with that. Of like, hey, order my pickle thingy on Monday, and then you can pick it up on Friday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. from my cousin's house, and everyone's like, yeah, that sounds like an awesome thing. I'll build my life around this. Like, I don't think anyone's going to want to do that anymore once you hit a certain age. But yeah, I think the era of all that stuff is kind of going away. I make fun of you a lot, Chris, about like what you value in a restaurant of all those things. But I think it's starting to become true. Like that is what is going to be valued more above anything. Like, yeah, I'm going to a restaurant. Yeah, it's going to be a waste of money. Yeah, the food's not going to be that good. But there's a jazz band playing. There's a beautiful scene. The person serving me the food is hot. The clientele is good. And you're going there for the experience. You're taking a photo of the napkin. It's a status symbol.
Don't talk about Bar Pity like that, bro. Don't come at Bar Pity on my podcast.
No, I mean, Bar Pity is a great place to get a drink. Don't get any food, but yeah.
Jason just literally shits on everything. I don't know where to go anymore, Wyatt. That's the problem. I don't know where to go with my friend to have a meal that's going to be up to his standard unless I'm lost.
That's the problem, Chris. I don't know either. That's why I eat a bodega sandwich and let's just get martinis wherever you go eat food at. Wherever your $30 bowl of vegetables is at, I will get a martini there. I guess
that would help with weight loss, which maybe isn't a bad program to run, but I do think that I don't know. I mean, it's tough. I haven't heard Jason talk, even after his Italian journey, he didn't talk positively about the food. So it's I'm sure your partner Wyatt is fed up with you complaining about every restaurant too, so we can probably relate.
Yeah. I definitely got a bad reputation near the end where it was impossible to like make me happy. And again, this is probably something I spent too many hours talking to my therapist about, man. Mm-hmm. I think the key is if you're that disappointed about going out and spending $200 on dinner, you shouldn't be going out to fucking dinner, man.
Great point. Thank you for that. Yeah. That's a.
Well, I've actually trained my partner into also being a snobby hater, and I don't know if I did that intentionally or not, or if she actually does agree with my philosophies on things. But she has sort of become a person who also turns her nose up at almost any restaurant setting as well. And I don't know if that's a sign that I have chosen the right life partner, or if I have polluted her innocent mind.
It feels like you're just a bad guy,
or I'm just a bad man in general.
Yeah, it seems like you're a man that's once again forcing the patriarchy on a.
Uh-huh. I got a question for you, Jason. Here's something that I feel like is completely missing from like the food conversation right now, and I think you're one of the few people I've seen comment on it. Do you think restaurants could pull you back in if we brought back smoking?
Oh, yeah. Great question. Honestly, great question. The answer is yes.
100%. 100%. Because, smoking in itself is an experience. And, especially once you get older, I've noticed it's just like Chris was saying, like, I'm a simple man. Give me a good bread basket, and the server keeps refilling my iced tea or whatever it is, like those little things. If I can go to a place where there's a nice ashtray, the martini's made well and it's cold, and I have a nice view to look at, charge me $100 for a fucking cheeseburger that tastes like shit. I don't care. I'm just happy to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. When I read that thing that you wrote about smoking and food, it blew my mind because like I've had this thing for a while where it's like, what's missing from food media? I mean, you follow this stuff, and it's like, I hate to be like the hater on like my former profession, but like everybody gets on the same subjects and sort of decides like, this is what we're talking about this year. Or, like, this is the important thing to talk about with food, or this is like the cool trend. Mm-hmm. But like we smoked in restaurants for the existence of restaurants.
Yeah.
Like the whole time that restaurants have existed, people have been smoking in them. And it's only like the past, 20 something years that we decided that doesn't go anymore. And then we all pretend like it doesn't exist and it's not part of the experience. Mm-hmm. Like, why are we like, I don't know, man, I'm just like a cigarette truther. Why are we pretending cigarettes don't exist? They should be part of the conversation. Yeah. They should be part of the food conversation.
Yeah. I mean, wait till we smoke on planes again.
Whoa.
I'm okay with not smoking on planes, but the restaurant thing, yeah, I mean.
Okay. pussy.
But I mean, especially during quarantine, you're watching all these old movies and all these directors, Paul Thomas Anderson, Quentin Tarantino, they're making all these films about the good old days, or you watch Mad Men or whatever it is, and everyone goes to a bar and you sit down, you order your drink and you light a cigarette, and that's an equal part of the whole experience. And that is totally gone now. And now that has been replaced with, I'm going to look at my Instagram instead.
Yeah, man. So wait a second. Are y'all, Chris, you don't smoke, right?
I'll have a cheeky cig every once in a while, but I mean, I wouldn't go somewhere because they allowed me to smoke like Jason would. But I do think smoking is one of the coolest things that exists. It's like one of the coolest things you can do. And to ban it is unfair.
I think having a smoking section, that was a fine compromise. And having one outdoors is good. But I mean, when I was in Italy, I was truly spoiled, and I was almost shocked at like, I'd be in a scenario where there would not be a single person smoking. I'm in this elegant dining room, and everything is all good. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Is it okay if I smoke in here? And they're like, oh yeah, thank God. Like, please. Like they wanted somebody to break the seal and start it up. And then as soon as I did that, everyone else in the restaurant started smoking, and then the whole energy became much more relaxed.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the same thing in Southeast Asia, man. Like people didn't stop smoking there, and maybe it was just like where I live, most places were open air, so that like sort of compensated for it a little bit. But like, it's a completely different approach to it. It's just like something that like no one ever thought like, oh, why would we stop doing that? Cigarette smoking's fantastic. Right?
When you put it like that, what was the drug scene in Bali like?
Man, I was trying to take care of myself, so I can't say that like I was like, super down and into all of that sort of stuff. But, you had on the one hand people who were seeking to like make contact through God, through like licking the back of the toad. Like that was definitely like a thing that was happening there. And then you sort of had like your standard European/Australian scene, like, like really stepped on bags of ketamine in the club kind of vibe. Okay. And it's sort of somewhere in between, you had a lot of other stuff. But, like I was like getting up early in the morning, like drinking coconut water and shit like that, man. Like that's...
Wow, you're on the CB wave. We love to see it. When do you finish in Iowa? When do you get to return to society?
No comment. We're playing it by the week out here, man. Like,
wow. Okay, so it's going really well out there. Good to know. Good to know. There's like some hard dates. Things are going great. I mean, I love it. But how does it feel? I mean, as we're wrapping up, how does it feel? 10 years of working on a book is astronomical. I mean, that's truly hard to fathom for anyone. Does it feel amazing to have it completed, or does it feel like there's a void where the book used to be?
Yeah, it's the second one, man, for sure. I don't want to go down on it, but it's like, the thing you learn as a writer is like to like keep working, to keep revising, and to like find like what wasn't working and then improve it and keep going. And when you're pushing this stuff out in the world, man, like I'm as proud of this thing as like anything I'll ever make in my life. Right. Like this is like, I'm so glad I get to share it, but like, the thing that they tell you is...
This is your entourage.
It's anything that you want to put on that. That's what it is for me. Whatever it is, people might not like it. People might be into it. I don't know. But, the thing about it is like, you just want to keep writing. That's what I want to do, man. I just want to be on the next story. I've had a lot of stuff come out in the past few months, and it's just like... I'm really stoked to like catch up with some friends. Like I'm going to go to Atlanta, and like all the people that like I complained to about working on this book for like years and like annoyed, I can finally like apologize to and say like, here's this thing, you don't have to hear me talk about it anymore, man.
Hey guys, for 10 years of annoying you, Ezra, I got you an autographed copy of my book. So thank you so much for your support and dedication during this difficult period of my life.
Okay, so just to confirm, that the book that you're talking about is Springer Mountain, or is this a different book?
Springer Mountain, Meditations on Killing and Eating, out on Tuesday. Thanks for having me on to talk about it, man.
I'm very proud of you, man. I know this has been a long haul, and I think that this is, there's a few tasks in life that are more daunting than writing a book, and I think that completing it must feel must feel really good. And you'll find some other bullshit to do. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah, man. No, I'm trying to convince any like celebrities that need like puff piece profiles written about them. Like we could just go like right.
Don't come for us like that, okay? Like we're not celebrities. We're just podcasts. And I would say that story had some meat on the fucking bone. Maybe you need to read it again. But there was some meat on that. Jason, you got a little gristle in your teeth after reading that story, I think.
Oh yeah, I have a meat high right now. Not unlike when I go to a Korean barbecue joint. That's how I'm feeling right now, satiated with the flesh. I mean, almost like I was eating horse or something. I could run faster.
I love it for you guys. Wait, so when do y'all leave for a tour? When's that happen?
Are you going to be in Atlanta on October 1st?
No, man. I'm out like Monday morning, so I'm going to miss y'all.
Okay. No, we leave. Yeah, we start October 1st, so we leave September 30th from LA. We get to Atlanta. Jason gets to spend more time with my parents, and then we hit the stage. You know. We've been talking about this for so long. I'm ready to get it over with. All right, Wyatt. The book Springer Mountain is in stores on Tuesday. You can get that wherever you buy books. And where can they find you on Twitter to follow along with the action?
Wyatt_Williams.
Thank you. Nice to hear from you, bro. Please be careful out there. I don't know what happens in Iowa. I feel like something bad could happen. So just be careful.
Thank you, CB. Thank you.
Be careful. Don't talk to your neighbors and shit. All right, be careful. I don't fucking know. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Wyatt, thank you.
All right, be safe out there, dude.
All right, later, bro.